Next to hit, a lot of people will ask me if you need expertise. As you see, I have little to none. The reason for this is because I would rather stack as much damage as possible because my playstyle is more aggressive and the comp I play, I would rather have as much burst as I can. But if you are in, say, the 1800 to 2200 bracket, which is more dominated with TSG, Kitty Cleave, and other variants of melee cleaves than the higher brackets would be, it might be recommendable to take 2020 expertise in order to land more gouges and CC defensive peel stuns. But that's up to you. If you feel like you have really bad luck when it comes to trying to peel targets with gouge, you could take the expertise. You'll lose about 2% crit, approximately, which isn't too much, but at the same time, it all adds up. So, it's preference. Next to expertise, excess hit and mastery really aren't that good. You still want haste over any of those. That covers stat values and reforgings. So next we'll move on to what enchants and gems you should be using, starting with gems. As you'll see, all of my gear with gem slots, 40 and 67 agility in every single slot. Rogues can get away with this because of the fact that your meta gem only requires you to have 3 red gems socketed, meaning that you could have red gems in every single socket and it won't matter. As long as you're comfortable with your resilience and hit, you can have as much agility as you can stack, which is what I go for. Right here is an example of how gemming out of socket can actually be beneficial for you. This socket is a yellow, which I would normally put either a 20 Agi 20 crit or Agi resil into, depending on what I felt like. However, what I want to go for is just damage, crit, and dodge, because of how valuable agility is right now. So, if you put a 40 agility in, the 30 agility with the socket bonus plus 20 crit or 20 resilience, mathematically, the 40 agility gem is actually higher in mathematical damage over that. So, agility being so high over the rest of the stats in value allows you to do this. However, if you really feel like you're low on resilience, you could always take the bonuses and use the actual gems. It's up to you. I personally don't. One last thing after expertise is resilience, which is PvP exclusive. Resilience for a rogue is not as important as it would be for, say, a warlock, which gets trained all day and doesn't have that much to mitigate the damage aside from it. Rogues have quite a few defensive CDs and ways to get away from incoming damage, and usually aren't the favorite target of a lot of teams. So as much as you do want resilience, you don't want too much because it'll go to waste. Some people will say otherwise, but that's just the way I see it at the moment. You can feel free to draw your own conclusions with your own playstyle. However, between 3k and 3500 resilience as a general rule of thumb is what you want to shoot for. I can go between that comfortably and still be able to use PvE off pieces, so I'll go later into what PvE off pieces you should use and why. But next we'll move on to gemming and enchanting and go from there. So after your gem choices, the next thing you want to worry about is your enchants. As far as your helm enchant and shoulder enchant, there's 2 choices here. You can either go for the Ramkehen helm and the Therazane shoulder, or you can go for the honor variations of both. I personally prefer the helm enchant for PvE because it gives haste, which is of higher value. The shoulder one gives mastery, which although it does give a somewhat okay increase to damage, it's a very small value, and the resilience in the long run might be of more value. So take those as you see fit. If you got extra honor and you don't care, you can just get the resilience one. It's not too big a deal, but those are what you should use. For your cloak, you should use 22 agility, in my honest opinion. In terms of how its EP matches up with the highest crit enchant available right now, it is actually more beneficial to get the Wrath Cloak enchant. And this isn't the only time that I do this. I have a bunch of Wrath enchants, and I'll tell you why I do. After your Cloak, you want 20 agility to chest. You could go with Resilience if you feel that your Resilience is low. Yet again, it's optional and completely up to you, but that's 20 agility and 20 strength as well. You might not necessarily think that strength is important to a rogue, but it's still extra attack power. You still get attack power from strength, although you don't get it in as large increments because it doesn't scale like it does with other plate classes that need it. As far as your bracers, I'm a leatherworker, so I get the 130 agility. You can use the lesser one as long as it's still agility. Your main hand and offhand, you want landslide on your main, weapon chain on your offhand. If you don't know why you should use a weapon chain, along with giving you a very small supplementary amount of hit, it reduces your disarms by half. So in PvP, this is huge. Against warriors, rogues, shadow priests, anything, having a 5-second disarm instead of a 10 is a big deal, and you want that. Next to that, gloves, 20 agility. This is another Wrath enchant. It's better than 50 haste. It's about the same, but yet again, that's pure mathematical damage. That's not even counting the extra dodge. So that should be your glove enchant if you can get it. A lot of these enchants from Wrath, by the way, might not be on the auction house sometimes, so getting the materials can be a pain, but it is worth it. Leg enchant, 190 attack power, 55 critical strike. That's like the dragon scale or whatever. I get the free one from leatherworking, so I get to not care what the name is. But the 190 AP 55 crit, you might say, well, you say how well agility does for rogues, why aren't you using the Agi Stam? I go for damage over survivability, but not in so much that I die instantly. But 190 55 crit does give more damage than the Agi Stam version. This is one of the few exceptions where the alternate is superior to the agility version. Now, your boots, 35 agility, major agility to boots. I recommend this over Assassin's Step and taking quickening. However, if you don't take quickening, you want to sub that out for Assassin's Step and get the 20 agi and run speed. Now, aside from that, you could get your rings enchanted if you're an enchanter, but besides that, that covers enchants. Now, after enchants, while keeping the general rule of how much resilience you want, if you feel that you have too much resilience, like you're living okay, but you don't think your damage is up to it, there are two PvE pieces that I find it extremely difficult to not recommend right now. The first one being Unheeded Warning. This trinket is really, really good since they buffed it in the middle of 4.0. 321 static agility, which, of course, agility is very good. Can't say it enough. And your melee attacks have a chance to increase your weapon damage by 680 for 10 seconds. This thing procs fairly often. I'm not sure of the ICD offhand. I'd have to look on Elitist Jerks for it. But it's up fairly often. The increased weapon damage increases the top end of my tier 1 dagger. I don't have the tier 2, it's only the 4th week of the season at this time. But that going up, looking at how well attacks such as hemorrhage and backstab scale with your weapon damage, that can make quite a difference in how hard your backstabs can hit. It really is noticeable. I'm not making that part up. I personally use it over the on-use Agi trinket until I get the Ruthless version. I might try it and see if I like it better. But Unheeded and the Vicious on-use are pretty much on par with how much damage they gain as a whole over a fight, which they figured out on Arena Junkies because this was a big issue when the trinket was first changed. But this does make you able to play a little bit more offensive, yet your burst is sort of reliant on whether that thing procs or not. I personally don't have much issue with it. If you need more resilience or you just prefer having a more solid burst window, then go ahead and use the on-use. I'm not going to stop you. It's just a matter of preference, and I like Unheeded Warning better. The next item that you can use from PvE that I really, really like is the Cloak from Lord Rylith, the Dreadfire Drape. This thing is like Drape of the General from Ulduar. Not sure of the name offhand, but the other cloak for rogues that had 2 gem slots. The combination of 2 red gem slots and a 20 agi bonus puts this almost 100 agility over the Ruthless Cloak. That is a huge difference. I'm willing to forsake some resilience to get that much more agility. This cloak alone increased my top end by 25, which for an item that's not a weapon is pretty substantial. Alright, so that concludes this first guide of mine. I'll probably make more in the future. I just wanted to cover some of these beginner questions because people go to me with them a lot. If you want me to go into something that's a little bit less scrubby, like more technical and advanced, like maybe dueling strategies versus specific classes, arena strategies, using your focus correctly, blah blah blah, go ahead and either leave a comment or send me an in-game tell and ask me what I wouldn't have a problem making a guide for, because I could probably do it. So, I hope this wasn't too boring. I hope you learned something. Hope we've all grown. I know I have.